Today I'm in Vanceburg, Kentucky. Let's go check it out. Vanceburg is a town of less than 1,500 people in northeastern Kentucky. Vanceburg was founded in 1797 and is the county seat of Lewis County, located along the Ohio River. The naming of Vanceburg is a unique story. It's named after co-founder of the town, William Vance. It was originally called Bairdstown, after the other co-founder, Joseph Baird. But the pair decided that a coin toss would forever decide the fate of this river town. William Vance won that toss, hence the change from Bairdstown to Vanceburg. During the pioneer era of Kentucky, availability of salt often led to the success of a settlement. The salt found here was the center of the town's early economy, with salt works along Salt Lick Creek, which flows through the town. The salt operation and mine drew early settlers and commerce to the Vanceburg area. During these early years, Vanceburg was also known for alum rock, which sits just outside of town. Alum was used for many things in this time period, including food preservation, textile dyeing, leather tanning, water purification, and even medicinal, as it has antiseptic properties. It was used to treat canker sores, soothe skin irritations, and as a styptic to stop bleeding from cuts. As a river town, Vanceburg grew with trade and transportation from flatboats to steamboat and later to the railroad, greatly impacting the community. Like so many river communities, Vanceburg faced dramatic natural challenges, most notably the Great Flood of 1937, when the Ohio River crested around 75 feet, inundating downtown and causing entire blocks to wash into the river. This event reshaped the city's layout and led to renaming of streets. First Street was completely lost to the river. Now Front Street sits along the river, and the roads off the river from there were renamed. Throughout its history, Vanceburg has been shaped by industry, transportation, wartime loyalties, and community preservation efforts, all of which I hope to show you in this short video. Now the Vanceburg Visitor Center, this ornate Victorian home was built by George Morgan Thomas in 1883. Thomas was a local lawyer, local politician, a U.S. senator, and was even an advisor to both President Abraham Lincoln and President William Taft. Later, Thomas was appointed Solicitor of Internal Revenue by President William McKinley. This home was built in 1856 and was the home of Judge William Cottingham Halbert and his wife, Lavina Ann Halbert. Halbert was her maiden name. Yes, they were cousins. William was a very successful lawyer, was said to be on every important case tried in the county for years prior to his death. He was responsible for passing the law that secured the removal of the county seat from Clarksburg, bringing it to Vanceburg. He helped build bridges and turnpikes all throughout the county. He also gave land for the courthouse, jail, and the Christian church. At one time, he owned practically half the land in town, according to the history of Lewis County. A depot was constructed when the Maysville and Big Sandy Railroad came to town in 1888. This current depot was built, or some notes say rebuilt, in 1912. It has now been restored as a museum. Here you can find railroad equipment, local memorabilia, photographs, and stories of how the railroad shaped the town. As the rails replaced the steamboat, the people of Vanceburg were able to ship their goods farther for cheaper, connecting them to wider markets and helping spark economic growth. The aforementioned flood of 1937 damaged the first Vanceburg courthouse beyond repair. This second courthouse behind me was built in 1939 of stone from a local quarry. The design takes inspiration from Independence Hall in Philadelphia. The courthouse is a product of the New Deal era, but was not built directly by the WPA, only funded from the Public Works Administration. This allows for more flourishes in the design and construction compared to something like the Batavia, Ohio courthouse that I saw a week ago that was built around the same time, but built by the WPA themselves. This Union monument built on the courthouse lawn was built to honor the 107 Lewis County men who died serving the Union Army. Erected in 1884, there are less than 10 such Union monuments in Kentucky. Most of those monuments stand in towns along the Ohio River. This house on 2nd Street has some sad but interesting history attached to it. The building of the house was started in 1908 for the Hammond family. The 3rd floor was being planned as a music room and play area for the family's only daughter, Virginia, but was never finished. Work on the residence halted when Virginia died at the young age of 10. The Hammond family never occupied the residence that was so close to being finished. A neighbor ended up buying the property soon after. Built in the late 1800s by the Stamper family. According to the History of Kentucky and Kentuckians by Polk Johnson from 1912, George Washington Stamper is described this way: vigor, enterprise, and persistency. These are the qualities which make for success, and these are the characteristics which have dominated the career of George Washington Stamper, who through his own efforts built the ladder by which he has climbed to affluence. He has been identified with farming, blacksmithing, merchandising, lumbering, and banking, and in each of these enterprises, success has been on a parity with his well-directed endeavors. Stamper was an incredibly important figure in the town, and his grand 5-bay house denoted his affluence. A large portion of downtown Main Street is referred to as the Stamper Block, as most of these buildings were owned by Stamper at one time. Truly one of the most unique buildings I have found in all of my travels around rural Ohio and Kentucky is this one right here. That's it. That's how skinny the building is. And it goes a long way back, and it has what looks to be maybe stables over here. So if you're from the area, I would love to know the history of this building, what its original use was, and even what it's used for now. Looks like maybe a livery stable at one point, or maybe even like a warehouse now. So pretty neat building here in Vanceburg, Kentucky. The county here, Lewis County, is named after Captain Meriwether Lewis of the famed Lewis and Clark expedition. He floated by Vanceburg on September 22nd, 1803, as he was floating down the Ohio River on his way to St. Louis to start their expedition. Later on that expedition, as they were on their return trip, Lewis and Clark camped in Montana, and the campsite was marked by 3 large cottonwood trees. Today, one of those trees still stands. About 20 years ago, the town of Vanceburg was able to collect a seedling from that remaining tree, and they planted it here in town at the park as a further connection to Captain Meriwether Lewis. Built in 1887 for prominent local attorney Samuel Johnson Pugh, he attended Center College in Danville, Kentucky, before becoming a lawyer in Vanceburg. Besides a county attorney, Pugh also served as county judge, delegate to the state constitutional convention, and state senator. After retiring from Congress, he resumed the practice of law here in Vanceburg until he died here in April of 1922. The Plummer House is one of the oldest houses in Vanceburg. Built around 1855 by W.A. Plummer, a prominent businessman in town. The mansard roof was added in the 1880s. This roof style was fashionable during the Second Empire architectural craze that captivated much of America in the latter half of the 19th century. Most of the development in Vanceburg is happening back on the AA highway, which cuts through the area. But downtown Vanceburg still has some really unique buildings, like this one here. I don't know the history on it, but it has these big, almost garage door looking things that are boarded off. I don't know if that was a car dealer or something at one time, but pretty unique place. There's lots of areas for development downtown. One of these old historic buildings being vacant. But there's still plenty to do here, still plenty to see. So if you're cutting through Kentucky or just wanting to see an authentic river town, stop by Vanceburg, grab something to eat, and take a look at some of the shops they have here.